Have you ever been promised the world, love, marriage, commitment, or a future that felt almost too good to be true, only to later realize it was all an illusion? That is the devastating power of future faking in narcissistic relationships. It's not just about broken promises. It's about being emotionally trapped by dreams that were never meant to come true. Today, we're going to uncover the truth behind future faking, why it happens, how it affects you, and most importantly, how you can break free from its grip and reclaim your power. Future faking is one of the most deceptive and emotionally damaging tactics in relationships, and it often goes unnoticed until you're deeply entangled in its web. It works because it speaks directly to your deepest desires: love, security, partnership, and the vision of a meaningful future with someone who appears to understand you. At its core, future faking is when a partner makes grand promises about what life together will look like. Promises of marriage, a home, shared adventures, or even growing old side by side. But those promises are never rooted in genuine intent. They are offered not as commitments, but as illusions designed to keep you emotionally tied. It's a psychological trick that preys on your hopes, because when someone speaks to your future, they are speaking to the part of you that longs for stability, belonging, and purpose. This is why the impact of future faking feels so powerful. It's not just about words, it's about what those words symbolize. You don't just hear, "Someday we'll travel the world." You imagine it. You don't just hear, "One day we'll get married." You start building your life around it. And yet, the tragedy is that the more you believe, the more you invest, and the harder it becomes to see that none of it was meant to happen. Future faking feeds off your trust and your longing, weaving a dream so vivid that reality begins to pale in comparison. The manipulation lies in the fact that it is not accidental, it is calculated. The person doing it knows exactly how much hope means to you, and they use it to keep you waiting, forgiving, and tolerating, long after you should have walked away. Narcissists use future faking because it is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to gain control. Control, after all, is what they seek most in relationships. By offering visions of a better tomorrow, they avoid accountability for today. They can mistreat you, neglect you, or fail to show up as a partner. But because you believe a brighter future is just around the corner, you hesitate to confront the reality of the present. Hope becomes the leash they hold, pulling you back every time you think about leaving. They know that when you believe in the dream, you will silence your doubts, make excuses for their behavior, and keep giving them chances. To them, promises are not sacred, they are currency. Each promise buys them more time, more access, and more control. They dangle the future like a reward, making you feel that if you just stay patient, if you just give more, if you just endure a little longer, then everything you've been waiting for will finally be yours. But in truth, they never intend to deliver. Their promises are empty shells, spoken not out of love, but out of strategy. They understand the psychology of hope, that even a single sentence about forever can keep someone clinging for years. And while you're clinging, they are free to take without truly giving, to consume without truly committing. This is the cruel genius of future faking. It's not about the future at all. It's about trapping you in an endless present where only they win. When someone makes promises about the future, it doesn't just touch your heart. It affects your brain in a very real chemical way. The moment you hear words like, "We're going to have the most beautiful life together," or "I can see us retiring by the sea, enjoying our golden years," your brain begins to release dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and reward. This chemical surge creates a sense of euphoria, making you feel chosen, valued, and secure. The irony is that even though nothing tangible has happened yet, your body reacts as if it's already real. You begin to experience the joy of a future that hasn't arrived, which makes the bond with the person stronger. This is what makes the manipulation so effective. The narcissist doesn't need to consistently show up in the present. All they have to do is sprinkle words of tomorrow to keep you emotionally high today. Over time, your brain learns to crave these promises because they feel like moments of safety and certainty in an otherwise unstable relationship. It becomes an emotional drug. Each promise becomes a fix, keeping you tethered to someone who is not giving you what you truly need, but is offering just enough of a dream to keep you from leaving. The emotional high of these promises clouds judgment, convincing you to overlook red flags and forgive behaviors you would never tolerate otherwise. What makes it even more powerful is that you start imagining details yourself. You picture the home, the wedding, the vacations, filling in the gaps of their vague promises with your own desires. This means you're not only holding on to their words, but also your own imagination of the perfect life together. It feels intoxicating, but eventually, the crash comes when you realize those dreams remain only in your mind and not in reality. This crash is part of the destructive cycle that future faking creates. The constant swing between hope and disappointment. At first, the promises give you energy, lifting you out of doubt, convincing you that all the struggles are temporary and better days are on the horizon. You start to justify poor treatment, thinking, "This is just a phase. Soon things will improve." But as time passes and the promises remain unfulfilled, you feel the sting of betrayal. Disappointment sets in, and with it, confusion and self-doubt. You may start questioning yourself. Am I expecting too much? Did I do something wrong to delay our plans? This self-blame keeps you trapped, because instead of holding the other person accountable, you turn inward and try harder, hoping your efforts will make the dream materialize. And then, just when you begin to lose faith, another promise comes, a fresh spark of hope, resetting the cycle. It feels like an emotional roller coaster you can't step off of. The highs of anticipation followed by the lows of disillusionment. Each round of this cycle chips away at your self-worth, leaving you increasingly dependent on their words for reassurance. You begin to live not in the present, but in the waiting room of your life, always anticipating a future that never comes. This cycle of hope and disappointment is the very engine of future faking, and it keeps you stuck in a loop where time, energy, and emotional well-being are slowly drained, leaving you deeply invested in a relationship that exists more in imagination than in reality. One of the most crucial steps in protecting yourself from future faking is learning how to identify it early, because by the time you are deeply invested, the manipulation becomes harder to untangle. There are always signs if you look closely, and they usually appear in the form of inconsistency. A person who is future faking will often make bold declarations about what life will look like with you. But when it comes to action, there is always a delay, an excuse, or a sudden change of plan. They may talk about marriage but never introduce you to their family, or they may speak about buying a home together but never take the practical steps of saving money or discussing logistics. They keep you in a state of anticipation, dangling the idea of commitment like a carrot on a stick. Another telltale sign is vagueness. They will often speak in sweeping statements. Someday we'll do this. One day it'll just be us, without ever providing clear timelines or concrete plans. And if you press for details, you'll often notice them deflect or become irritated, as though your desire for clarity is unreasonable. What they are doing is stringing you along with emotionally charged words while withholding real action. A genuine partner doesn't just speak about the future. They actively take steps toward building it with you, brick by brick, moment by moment. Their actions align with their words in a way that creates trust and stability. But with a future faker, you will notice a growing gap between what is said and what is done, and that gap is where confusion, doubt, and heartache live. Spotting these signs early is not about being skeptical of love. It's about protecting yourself from investing in illusions that steal your time and your emotional energy. The cost of believing in these illusions is far greater than many realize, because it doesn't just affect your relationship, it affects your entire life. When you place your hope in promises that never come true, you begin to shape your present around a future that doesn't exist. You might put off important decisions because you believe marriage is around the corner, or you might ignore opportunities for personal growth because you're waiting for the life they promised you. Over time, this pattern creates a deep sense of stagnation. Your world starts to shrink because you're not truly living in the moment. You're living in a constant state of not yet. This takes a toll on your mental health, creating anxiety, self-doubt, and even depression, as the repeated cycle of hope and disappointment chips away at your confidence. Another devastating cost is lost time. Months, even years, can pass while you remain emotionally invested in something that was never real to begin with. You look back and wonder how so much of your life slipped away while you were waiting for someone to deliver on words that were never meant to materialize. And perhaps the heaviest cost is the erosion of self-worth. Each broken promise can make you question your value, leading you to believe that if you were somehow better, more patient, or more deserving, the promises would come true. This is the cruelest lie of all, because it keeps you bound to the very person who is robbing you of joy. Recognizing this cost is painful, but it's also empowering, because once you see what future faking has stolen from you, you can begin the journey of reclaiming your time, your self-esteem, and your freedom. Breaking free from the illusion of future faking begins with a shift in focus, from listening to words to observing actions. It requires a kind of emotional courage, because it means confronting the uncomfortable truth that someone you love may never give you the future they've promised. The first step is clarity. Instead of clinging to what-if scenarios or rehearsing their promises in your mind, ask yourself, what has this person consistently shown me with their behavior? Love isn't proven through the grand speeches or poetic declarations. It's revealed in the everyday choices, the follow-through, the reliability that makes you feel secure. When you begin to value reality over fantasy, the fog starts to lift. You can see that no matter how beautiful the words, if they are not supported by actions, they are just illusions. This clarity doesn't come overnight, because hope is addictive, and the pull of those promises can feel like gravity. But the more you practice measuring someone by what they do, not what they say, the less power those words will hold over you. The next step is boundaries. Once you recognize the gap between words and actions, you must decide what you will no longer tolerate. Boundaries are not about punishing the other person. They are about protecting your own emotional well-being. It might mean refusing to accept vague promises, or it might mean demanding timelines and accountability when future plans are mentioned. Most importantly, it may mean walking away when the pattern continues, no matter how persuasive the promises sound. Breaking free from future faking is not only about leaving illusions behind. It's about reclaiming your ability to trust yourself again, to believe that your instincts and needs are valid, and to honor them without apology. Rebuilding your life beyond false promises is a process of rediscovering your power and rewriting the narrative of your future on your own terms. After being trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment, it can feel overwhelming to imagine building a future that doesn't depend on someone else's words. Yet this is where true healing begins. Instead of asking, "What did they promise me?" the question becomes, "What do I want to create for myself now?" This shift recenters your life around your goals, your values, and your dreams. It means recognizing that the most reliable future is the one you actively build, step by step, without waiting for someone else's permission. This might involve reconnecting with passions you put on hold, investing time in your career, deepening friendships, or exploring opportunities you once set aside. The energy that was once consumed by waiting for a false future can now be channeled into growth and fulfillment. Just as importantly, rebuilding requires redefining what love and partnership should look like for you. Instead of tolerating empty words, you begin to expect consistency, alignment, and respect. You learn to value actions as the true measure of care, and in doing so, you raise the standard for every relationship moving forward. The power of this transformation is that it not only frees you from the hold of future faking, but it also prevents you from falling into the same trap again. When you finally see that you are capable of building a meaningful life without relying on empty promises, you unlock a deeper sense of freedom. You understand that love is not about waiting endlessly for someone else to change. It's about finding joy, security, and fulfillment in a reality you create and choose every single day. Future faking in narcissistic relationships is one of the most painful forms of betrayal, but it can also be the wake-up call that leads you to true healing and freedom. You deserve more than empty words. You deserve actions, respect, and real love. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced future faking in a relationship? How did it affect you? And what helped you move forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful insights on relationships, healing, and self-growth. And here's my final invitation to you. What topics do you want us to explore next? Your voice matters here. Together, we can create conversations that bring clarity, healing, and transformation.